October the 16th, 2018, Wrestleview Live number 45. I hesitate to use the word live because as the 1000th episode of Smackdown took place, you like that little pause? I just did a little Triple H promo pause as I delivered that. YouTube crashed on everybody worldwide. I don't know what happened. Maybe throughout the course of this podcast, we can try to figure that out. Maybe there's like a story or something we can reference, but for some strange reason, and what was great was I made the switch to YouTube TV from PlayStation View. This was my first night, and of course YouTube crashes, so that was not a good experience for me. But fortunately, we had to record this show and upload it to YouTube, which you're watching now, so you probably don't care what I'm talking about, but if you were expecting a live stream, unfortunately, we cannot provide that this evening. However, I am joined by the gentleman who recaps SmackDown for us every Tuesday night here on Wrestleview.com. His name is Mr. Roy Nemmer. Roy, how are you, sir? How are things in Canada? Canada.
Canada. It's quite cold.
It is, yeah. It's getting cold here too, but I imagine it's even colder in Quebec.
Yeah,
So very
in
nice.
Bizarro land, right?
Bizarre Land, as they refer to it on television.
Yeah, it's pretty cold.
So did you? I haven't looked, but I got a call from your brother and the owner and the webmaster, the chairman, the CEO of Wrestleview, Paul Nemmer. He was panicking because YouTube was down, and he goes, "Why? What's going on? I don't understand." And there's internal server errors. I can actually pop it up here on the screen. You can see it on Wrestleview. There's like this weird internal server error, and it's this is what's showing up on the main page right now. So it looks kind of shitty, but. I don't know what happened, but YouTube crashed, and I thought it was a wonderful idea this evening, Roy, to watch live television on YouTube TV, which is it's cheaper than PlayStation View, and I made the switch, and I've been using it for a couple days now. It's been really good, and then I think towards the end of the Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair cutting edge segment, it just
Mhm.
died on me. So I still have PlayStation service for a couple more weeks, so I just switched over to that. But worldwide catastrophe. I might Google it and see what's going on in the world right now, but. Um, it just I haven't seen YouTube crash like this. There's been moments where like Skype has crashed,
Mhm.
um, but there's never to this like magnitude has YouTube crashed. I found an article here by The Verge, I think. Yeah, let's zoom in a little bit here so people can kind of see on the screen here. It just says, "Yep, YouTube is experiencing a major outage. Users across the world just started to notice that the video services, sites, and mobile apps were down around 9:20 East." Yeah, that's actually on the dot of when I was watching the segment. So yeah, that's crazy. They
Yeah.
apparently this happened during the World Cup, and people were quite pissed off. Did you hear about this? Because you should know. You're in the soccer world.
It did. I think started at the beginning. Was it at the beginning of the tournament? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so during the World
Um,
Cup, they had and dropped at an inopportune time. Did something hilarious
yeah,
happen maybe while it was going on? But yeah, people are
probably.
panicking. This is uh this is a big story. So anyway,
It's the world we live in, right?
it's
YouTube goes down and
I know.
everyone forgets how to drive.
I am more reliable on YouTube now because I don't have cable or satellite now. So like if I want to watch something before I go to bed at night, I toss on YouTube and I watch stuff on YouTube or podcasts or anything. So it's kind of like TV. Now I did get the TV version of YouTube, which I think has been really good, but it is weird how we're so reliant on these technologies, and then when they drop out, everybody panics. But anyway, we are here and we are ready to talk about SmackDown 1000. So I should mention Mike Tedesco, longtime WrestleView staff member, jumped in and recapped the Rey Mysterio Shinsuke Nakamura match, and then the Undertaker walking out and cutting like a 30-second promo to close the show tonight. So he was really eager because I'm sure you remember Mike's history of recapping SmackDown for us. He started doing that many years ago. He was the longest running SmackDown recapper for us, but that's been kind of your job for how long have you been doing it now for us? It's been a
I
couple,
want to
what, 6 months?
on and off. Yeah, on and off for the past year consistently. I want to say for the past 6 to 7 months
Okay. At least, because
consistently.
I
Yeah.
know I ended up taking the job and I volunteered when the show went live, and then I ended up being the recapper for like almost 2 years because we couldn't find anybody that. And now it's going to get even stranger in actually a year from when we're speaking now. They're going to be on
Yeah.
Fox on Friday night, which What would that equivalent be in Canada? Like what broadcast network would Fox's equivalent be? Did they
I
say?
think they might. I think they might keep it because before it didn't always used to be on USA. It used to be on ESPN, right? Not ESPN. Sorry, EPN was it or something like that?
UPN, yeah, which was
EPN.
broadcast, yeah.
EPN.
But it was always what was the channel in Canada that would pick it up though?
Sportsnet. It was always
Sportsnet, yeah.
Sportsnet.
So maybe Sportsnet will just keep airing it, right?
Yeah, it's probably going to stay like that for a while. They're investing. They have the rights to Raw, SmackDown, Aftermath, which is actually like a pretty cool 30-minute show. What is it, Burner, Afterburner, some stuff like that. They're investing in wrestling in the WWE, so I'd be surprised if they lost the rights a year from now.
Okay. So you'll still have a way, but it's on a Friday night. Uh,
Oof.
yeah, I know it's gonna be rough, but I read a. Should we talk a little rumor here? Get people talking. That's what YouTube is all about. Is about the rumors
Yeah.
that they might be abandoning the brand split approach once because I know maybe in Canada Fox is like not that big of a deal because you guys have totally different network structures, but Fox is huge for the WWE in the United States. I mean, that is Fox is the home of major sports with the NFL, with Major League Baseball. And of course, there's very popular shows and things that get carried on it, but to have WWE programming co-promoted with the NFL, which gets 12, 13, 14, 15, upwards of over 20 million viewers a game, to then have a plug say, oh, by the way, SmackDown's coming up. That's crazy. That's going to be crazy co-promotion. But I don't know if that means, because I remember Eric Bischoff asked that question. He's like, well, does that mean Roman Reigns is going to go to SmackDown now? Because SmackDown's clearly going to be in more households now than Raw, even though Raw's the flagship show. But I don't know. We'll see where we're at a year from now.
I mean, it all depends, right? Like you said, they're gonna have to do something, whether that's pushing Roman Reigns or someone else, because of them making the switch to Fox. Side note, yes, I know how big Fox is.
Yeah, I know. Just checking.
I know how big Fox is. They're gonna have to do something for sure, because it's no matter what, SmackDown's always feeling like the B show. And The Miz even sort of mentioned it last week when he said, "Oh, when he told AJ Styles, he told him, listen, if you're wondering why the WWE title hasn't been main eventing pay-per-views, look in the mirror." It's sort of like a which was a funny comment and then like
Yeah.
tongue in cheek sort of, but at the same time it was pretty true because SmackDown's always been the B show, and then moving to Fox, maybe hopefully they actually give it a bit more, give it more of a push.
Well, I mean, it was more watched than Raw when it was on broadcast television. When it was on UPN, there were more people watching SmackDown, and this was right around the time of when they did the brand split. I mean, it was. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, more people were watching it because it was in more, and it was on a kind of a crappy Friday time slot for a while at one point too. But I've been, especially with your coverage, I liked the change to Tuesday. I liked having two live shows in a row. I got real tired of, okay, we would have occasionally a live pay-per-view on a Sunday, a live show on a Monday, and then there'd be this lull until Friday or Thursday or whenever, and you could find out and you could read the spoilers, and I don't know, it just SmackDown it feels more important now that it's live. I mean, I know it still gets the B show tag, but which they joked about in the opening segment tonight. They had Truth TV, and then they had Stephanie interrupt, and then Shane interrupted, and then Vince interrupted. But that earlier they were talking about how Stephanie was calling, she's like, well, on Raw we wouldn't have a Truth TV segment opening the show, and we're the flagship show, and this is the B show, and that's always been the line. But yeah, it's interesting. I like the live factor, but I don't know if that's going to. Maybe I'm wrong. I talked to Paul about this last week or 2 weeks ago. He thinks it's going to tank when it goes on Friday nights on Fox, but I don't think so. I think I think you'd be surprised how many people are like, that's my new life. I'm not going out on Friday nights. I know, Roy, you're still, slinging it on a Friday night and, having fun, but I have a totally different world now where I don't go out on Friday nights anymore.
For sure, and I get that, but it's still a Friday night. If for example, let's say whether you're married or you're in a relationship or whatever, it's sort of difficult to convince your significant other, hey, let's sit down and watch professional wrestling on a
No,
Friday
that's
night.
that's a good point.
It's difficult. Tuesday night works, to be honest with you.
It
I
does.
I love it. I have no problem Tuesday or Wednesday night. It's cool. as of Thursday, Friday, it's more difficult because it's the weekend, especially for Friday.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it'll tank like Paul said, Mr. Debbie Downer, but I don't think it'll do as well as they hope it's gonna do. Let's put it that way. And I'd love it if they were able to keep it on Tuesdays. But I guess for Fox it sort of makes sense because Thursday night, it's Thursday night football on Fox, is it? And then Friday gives them something. Then it's the
Yeah.
weekend.
Well, for a long time, Thursday Night Football was on the NFL Network, which just the games were terrible. They would have the worst games, like the strangest matchups, and no one watched. It was a joke in the NFL. And then Fox jumped in and said, "Hey, we want to take over on Thursday, and we want to have like actual big games with teams that are competitive." And now it's a huge deal. So you're right; they're going to get that bleed in from Thursday Night Football, and of course, it's unavoidable that they're going to compete with football on Monday nights with Monday Night Football. I mean, that's just always been the problem. But yeah, I like the life factor. I like it better. Speaking of Debbie Downers, two quick things. I liked that you brought up to me that the reaction that Paul got when he did the podcast with me a couple weeks ago when we were up super early in the morning talking Super Showdown, and he disagreed with just about everything. Do you think is that going to happen tonight with us when we talk about the show? We break it down. We're going to disagree.
I I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll definitely break it down. We've never done a show just you and I.
That's very
It's
true.
always been with Paul or Mike or whoever involved. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I'm more positive in regards to the show than I guess Paul is. Not to say that Paul's a negative guy, far from it.
No, but
But I guess just in terms of the product, I'm maybe a bit more positive.
Mike Tedesco texted me. He's wondering if Saudi Arabia took down YouTube and they went full heel with the reactions. We have to talk about Saudi Arabia too. I mean, it's just I know Mike and Victoria did last night, and I'm going to clip that segment, but it's just unavoidable. How do we not talk about that? So we'll save that for later. But because there was a tie-in tonight with Saudi Arabia. If you heard the crowd reactions, were not too not too positive in Washington D.C. in our nation's capital. Um, that by the way, that was a poor Forrest Gump impression. Sorry. I want to go to this is what Mikey usually does, and we do this on the post pay-per-view shows. I'm going to go to the poll that we had on Wrestleview's Twitter account, which, by the way, Roy is a very big reason why we're killing it on Twitter these days. You've been helping us out over the last year, and you were doing it again tonight, so thank you.
My pleasure.
Question was very basic: thumbs up, thumbs down for the show. So far, 76% thumbs up for the show. Our boy Jason, oh, he's gonna hate me for this one if he sees it. Our boy Josh Boutwell, J Bout, who, by the way, returned to WrestleView on Sunday and recapped Impact's Bound for Glory pay-per-view. He chimed in and he said, Rey Mysterio was on my screen. Will always get a thumbs up. Literally the first time I've watched a WWE TV show in months. That's also an interesting point because do you think, and I'd like to get with your take, because I usually like to start with positivity. So you were just talking about positivity. I like to start with, let's talk about the stuff that we liked, that we enjoyed the show. But tell me some stuff that you liked about tonight, and do you think maybe more people were tuning in tonight than usual because of the fact that it was 1000th episode of Smackdown, which, by the way, you did a wonderful take a shot every time they mentioned that tonight.
Yeah, would be hammered by now. Yeah, thank you for the kind words. Number one, number two, positive stuff. There were a lot of positives. I like the opening up with Truth TV. I loved it when they did it a couple of weeks back. The fans in the arena loved it. The reaction today was fun. It was cool. It gave a different dimension to the show, just more fun rather than having someone just come out and talk and like, I'm gonna beat you and a crown jewel, we're gonna do this and that. Especially for R-Truth, he's been there for a long, long time, and I haven't enjoyed watching him ever as much as I have right now. And same thing for Carmella. It's given something to her character as well, and who knew putting them together would actually work. That was a fun segment. We had to get the obligatory McMahon's coming out and talking the same way they did with the Raw 25th anniversary in January. But put that aside, that was still fun. I thought the tag team match was brilliant. I really, really liked that match. Although the ending made zero sense. We'll see where it goes. Uh, but I thought the actual match itself was fun. the main event before the Undertaker, Ray and Shinsuke, I thought it was cool. It was for what it was, hyping it up, 1,000th episode of SmackDown and all these guys coming back and this and that. Considering the matches we got, honestly, I'm happy. I'm content. There were some things that happened on the show that I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? Why is this even on? But for me, it was a thumbs up. It was a thumbs up for sure.
Yeah, I gave the show a thumbs up too. I thought it was really good, and I think the segment that stole the show for me by far was the Evolution segment with Batista. Just because there's been, I don't know, there's been obviously he's been in the media talking at full first before the show even took place. He was basically saying, well, I haven't actually been invited to the show, and that was honestly surprising when I heard that. I was like, I mean, this is in Washington D.C. where he's from, and he played such a huge role on SmackDown for so long as world champion, that I was a little surprised. But eventually we got there. He got the invite. Well, we didn't. We found out when they said Evolution was going to be reuniting, which I thought was interesting. We did get an Evolution thing a couple years ago against the Shield, but it wasn't. Ric Flair wasn't involved, and it was Batista kind of coming in and coming out. WWE totally dropped the ball with Batista. I don't think they realized how big the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise was going to be, because honestly, at that time, it wasn't proven. But that was right around the time he bailed to go promote that movie, and that became one of the biggest movies that year. And he's been part of the Avengers franchise, which is just huge. And so I was happy they got him to come back. And I know he has made, I'm sure you've seen some of his comments in recent last couple of years, where he basically said, I had some issues when I had my comeback. He said, if anything, I'd rather do like live events instead of TV and pay-per-view. But he did kind of say, like, I'd like to come back and have one more last good run. And they seemed to really tease that tonight with him and Triple H, where he, and I have to give massive credit to Randy Orton in the background, because he was making these hilarious faces. And we tweeted out a joke one on our Twitter account tonight, but I was inspired by Roy to start doing these goofy tweets just with these reaction shots. And if you didn't see it, he basically did this long-winded promo. He had like 4 points, and he was talking about Randy Orton and Ric Flair and how he's happy to be back. And then he got to Triple H, and he's like, Triple H, no one has accomplished more in this company than this guy has. He's accomplished everything you can accomplish except for beating me. And they did this. And I have to give Triple H a tremendous amount of credit. He is so good at this when he knows how to react to something, and he knows to just kind of let something breathe. And the way he just slowly looked at Batista, and then Ric Flair, I thought, did a good job too, where he kind of was like, okay, guys, come on, let's calm this down. And then Randy Orton in the background just sealed the deal. Like, to me, this, if you don't watch anything on this show, go out of your way when YouTube comes back up. It's down right now. But when it comes back up, watch this segment, because holy shit, was this good. I'm sold on a Batista Triple H match. I don't know how you would feel about that, but after they did what they did tonight, I'm ready for it. I think that would be a good like WrestleMania match or something. It'd be super fun.
Triple H's facial expressions are top. They're top notch. He's always been good at them. And that segment, like you said, that was probably the best thing from SmackDown from that night. Similar to Ronda Rousey last night on Raw.
Yep.
I thought it was great. Randy's facial expression was funny. Ric Flair, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but Ric Flair going for that fist pump, which Batista didn't see, and then kind of put his hand down, then went back up for the fist bump, and took Batista a couple of seconds to realize that was funny. And I'm not sure if it was intentional or not. And then we had, that segment, or that comment rather. I've never been Batista's biggest fan. I thought when he came back a couple of years back, and I think, when he won the Rumble, I'm like, what the hell's that? And then he bailed in the end after WrestleMania, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, for me, that was pointless. That was a waste of time.
It was a little beyond WrestleMania. They did a Evolution reunion, and then he bailed.
Okay, there you go. So, for me, it was still, I didn't like it. And then to have him come back, listen, it was cool. It was fun. The fans liked it. I enjoyed it. Whether I want to sit through another 3-4 months of it, the build up to WrestleMania, or however far we are from WrestleMania, I'm not quite sure. Uh, just because we've been getting so much of these attitude era, ruthless aggression era matches that it's played out. Like how many times are we gonna get Undertaker and Triple H, or now DX, or
Yeah.
Kane coming back, or Big Show? It's overkill, and it's fun, but when you guys constantly do it every 2 3 months, it kind of loses its appeal.
If I would be with you on this if they decided to have Triple H and Batista main event WrestleMania. I'd be like, yeah, no, we're not, no. But for like a filler match on the card, sign me up. I'm just the issue is, and maybe this is where I'm going to get myself in trouble when I say this, but a lot of the characters in this company fucking suck, and I'm talking about the
Yeah,
modern ones. They suck. They're not interesting. I don't care about Roman Reigns. I don't really care about what I know they're trying to tease like I don't know. I just don't care. The only real genuine characters that I care about right now are Charlotte and Becky Lynch. They are the only two that are actually going out of their way to make you care about what they're doing. And again, I hate to blame the talent because a lot of this is the cookie cutter promo approach where they just seem like a bunch of robots, trying to remember their lines and they're just doing their job and I can't get mad at them for doing that. But like when you see someone like Batista who's been off television for years now come back and just slide in and then you see the reaction, what his words create and the way Triple H plays off of it and how Rick Flair, and if anything, it makes the modern guys look bad because these guys can just slide back in. Although
yeah,
this is a conversation like, I'm sure this conversation was taking place. I know podcasts weren't quite a thing so much, but like in 2002, 2003 when they were transitioning out older stars and introducing newer talent like Randy Orton, like Batista, like John Cena. A lot of times people are like, I don't know about these guys. I don't know about what they're doing here, why this is happening. But that is the other indoctrination of the current modern era is that a lot of the talent just aren't very good. And a lot of that's presentation and a lot of that's on them too. But I tend to, I feel bad putting too much blame on the talent because they are being instructed to do something that maybe they're not totally on board about. And then it shows sometimes on television. But that's the one thing,
I,
man. It's like Batista coming back is I'm interested. I'm in. I know I hear what you're saying and what you're saying makes sense, but like that's pretty bad that I'm sitting here talking to you in 2018 going on 2019 going, yeah, I'm sold on Triple H Batista. I'll watch that. It's hard to sell me on other stuff going on right now.
no, and I agree. It's like that promo between The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels a couple of weeks back on Raw.
Yeah.
That was a heck of a promo. It was fucking incredible. And then it was, then you watch the show and you're like, why don't we get more promos like this? Granted, Undertaker and Michaels have been there, forever, and then they're good on the mic and they know how to talk. But like you said, and then you have someone like Batista slide right back in, knock it out of the park, and then you watch the other promos on the show and you're like, okay, I guess. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's because it's scripted or the talent simply is not there or a mix of both. And I get what you mean. I understand where you're coming from in terms of, yeah, it's 2018 going on 2019. Do I want to watch Batista Triple H? No, not really. Am I intrigued? Sure. I'm sure the build up to it will be great. Don't get me wrong. I'm like Batista's pretty good on the mic. Yeah, Triple H is very good on the mic. They'll build it up properly, especially with, passive evolution and Triple H never beating him and whatnot. Fine, but the match itself, number one, I don't know how good it'll be. Number two, do you really want that at a WrestleMania? I mean,
Yeah,
just because it's oh,
I do.
I can't. I'm trying to be positive about it, and I'm usually Mr. Positive, but I can't. It's if this was something 10 years ago or 5 6 7 years ago, sure.
Well, yeah, there was definitely a window. They could have done it during his last run, but
There you go. Yeah,
they
it
just
was what
didn't.
4 years ago.
Yeah, but it didn't work out, and he obviously was only there for a limited amount of time. But they've had this boner for wanting to do Triple H and The Rock, and it just never works out. So I think this is the next best thing. I guess it's because of the history with it. It's like I'm way more interested in Triple H and Batista than I am Triple H and Undertaker. Like I thought they did a good job going back and showing, the history that Triple H and Undertaker had. But like look at what they did tonight and how much fun that was. And I know you can't do that every week, but like I I can't imagine watching that and going like, it was just so good. It was just so good. It was so much fun. and just it's the subtlety of the shot of basically building somebody up and kind of like, stroking his ego and then be like, well, by the way, Roy, you might be like really awesome and stuff, but you never beat me. And then just to have, because I think that was what drew me to it was the stature of Triple H. Like everybody knows Triple H, they know his title history, they know everything he's done, everything he's accomplished, and then to have him just kind of stand there and gloating, be like, yep, exactly, yep, and then to have some guy go, but yeah, you didn't beat me though, and then just that slow turn of like, oh shit, he made a good point, and then have Randy Orton back up and be like, oh man, and it's just that like that elephant in the room a little bit. I thought they did a good job of planting the seed. I have no idea if this is going to lead to anything, and maybe it doesn't, but I loved it, and I will 100% sign off on a Batista Triple H match. It may not be great, like you said, but I'm interested. I'm in.
Based off of tonight, I'm interested in terms of how they build it up. Sure, and this is going to sound a bit weird. I'm interested in the build up. I'm not interested in the match itself.
Okay.
I'm sure I'm wrong on this, but we're probably going to get to the point where Triple H has been in more main events, in more pay-per-views in 2018 than the current United States champion Shinsuke Nakamura. And we're in 2018.
Maybe.
They're probably more or less the same thing, or Nakamura probably more by 1 or 2. But just the fact that it's already a maybe, that tells you something. I don't know if it tells you something about the current product or the writing or the development or the talent or what. But we're essentially 2018 going on 2019, and you still have Triple H as a figure, not as a figurehead in the back, but someone that's actually still wrestling. And I don't know, man. I'm trying to think about it. I'm trying to be positive. It's just not working.
But
it's not working.
I think it is. I'll be honest. I would be right there with you. But I think you just said it there. That it's a reflection of what's going on with the roster. They just don't have enough interesting things going on. So if you can kind of add these appetite. Now, granted, if this became the focal point of Monday Night Raw for the next like 4 months, and this was the main event of WrestleMania, I'd be right there with you. I would say no. This should not be the focal point. But it's like going to a restaurant. If you can give me a little appetizer of chips and salsa in the form of Batista and Triple H, I'll eat it. I'm down. I'm cool with it. I think they can. I think people will be surprised if they go in this direction. I don't know. I'm booking myself into a corner and getting way too excited that this is going to happen. But
okay, fine. But quick question: What's the point of all of this? Whether Triple H wins or Batista wins, there's no the outcome of it changes nothing.
Well, because if you want to, I mean, honestly, I think Batista has value. I think that's why you're seeing this. I think he has a lot of value. He's a bigger star now outside of wrestling than he's ever been in his career. He's incredibly well known outside of wrestling now, so he might bring some more eyeballs in. WrestleMania is a show since the very beginning that's been designed as a co-promotion or pairing or however you want to call it with celebrities. So Batista is now a celebrity. So if you can have Batista on your WrestleMania card in a match, who else would you put Batista with? It makes perfect sense to put him with Triple H because these guys have a history, and guess what? Triple H didn't beat him. So there you go. There's your feud. I'm okay with it. I'm interested in it. I know they really want to do Triple H Rock, but I think that one's a harder sell than this one. This one has backstory. This one has history. Triple H and Rock have had feuds all the way back to 97, 98 with the Nation of Domination and DX. But I mean, you'd be repackaging what they did with The Undertaker. I mean, you can go back and show the footage and the photos and the feuds, and that's cool. But I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too excited. I loved this. I thought this was.
In short, I understand the appeal. Yeah. I just feel like the end product is going to be shit.
Sure. Okay. And that's fair. That's totally fair because we don't know yet. We don't know what we're going to get. So we both talked about a couple things we liked on the show. I hate to be negative, but was there anything, well, you mentioned not really understanding the use of the Big Show tonight. He's cleared to come back. He had a match on Raw, with Randy Orton, if I'm not mistaken. Was that, well, no, that was last week. Last week's SmackDown.
That was last week on SmackDown.
Yeah, that was a World Cup match.
That World Cup qualifier involving only Americans.
Yeah, which in a country that shall not be named out loud on the television show. So he's back now, but he helped the Bar That was a lot of thes, by the way, to type on Instagram. It was The Bar defeated The New Day with help from The Big Show. There was a lot of thes involved in this match tonight. But so you weren't, you were just kind of confused by that, essentially.
It didn't make sense. I mean, I've been watching SmackDown, closely for the past year to 2 years. I don't remember anything involving the Big Show and the New Day.
I don't either.
Unless I'm wrong and there was something, or maybe Kofi eliminated Big Show at a Royal Rumble 15 years ago. I don't know. There was that. It just made no sense. If you wanted to get the titles off of New Day in a, in a non-clean way, they could have done it a billion other ways. There's a lot of different scenarios they could have done. To get the Big Show involved, I don't understand it. To be honest with you, that's going to be another hard sell. I have no idea what the fuck they're planning with that one. The match itself was great, like I said earlier. The match itself was good. Sheamus, Cesaro, as much as I love them as a tag team, I would love to see them in the world title scene. I know that's not going to happen, probably not anytime soon. But the match itself was good. I'm happy with them and everything. Just the Big Show, that made no sense. And there was something else in that match that made zero sense, and that was the commentary.
Jerry Lawler,
I don't know if
Booker
you,
T. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that nudge from Booker T to Lawler, telling him, "Hey, it's our turn, it's our turn."
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, where he's like, "Oh, by the way, our mics are hot." Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, literally, you see his hand, kind of like, "Okay, let's go," and then it took him about a
Talking.
second or two
Yeah.
before Lawler finally, before it clicked. That was pointless. The ending with the Undertaker. I mean, I guess I get it that you want to promote him, but I don't know, man. It ended on a weird note, and the fans were not happy. And I don't know if it's because of the Undertaker's promo that when he said, when
Crown
he
Jewel.
mentioned Saudi Arabia, everyone
Yeah.
booed.
He said
I
Crown
don't know if
Jewel.
they,
Yeah. Yeah. It was,
yeah,
it's that. How do you ignore this? Like, I know that they are ignoring it, but how do you? Like, it's a little silly. Like, you just can't do stuff like this in 2018. Can't ignore
you
it.
can't, but money talks.
No, I'm not. I'm saying from a PR standpoint where they just kind
Oh,
of pretend like nothing's. It's like, have you ever seen the Leslie Nielsen Naked Gun GIF where he's like, nothing to see here, and there's like explosions going off behind him? Exactly how I envision this entire thing with Crown Jewel. Is they're sticking with their statement. I contacted them. They're sticking with it. JBL went on Fox Business today, and he's like, yeah, I think they should go. I think they should do this. I think if you want to see change, you got to do this show. And they're all just and it was weird. And I guess we might as well just talk about it right now. They removed. Well, there was a whole bunch of stuff over the weekend, but and I know Mike and Victoria covered a lot of it, but there was a public outcry. There was media backlash. There was a couple, I think, a couple Democrats, one from New York and one from Connecticut, that said, "I don't think this is a good idea. I think the WWE should pull out." There was a multitude of things that happened. There was a segment on last week tonight on HBO, kind of being critical of it. Sports Illustrated did an article. Then there was this Fox Business thing doing a profile on it. So they're sticking with going to Saudi Arabia still. They're not backing out. All the while, this journalist, the whole reason this is the backlash is because a journalist was basically murdered by Saudis, and the Turks have proof of this. They have video and audio proof that it happened with a bone saw, literally dismembering this guy, capturing him in a consulate in Turkey and dismembering him with a bone saw because of his outspokenness towards the regime. I know Lindsey Graham spoke out against Saudi Arabia and the prince, and a couple of high-profile businesses have pulled out of Saudi Arabia. So it's not like the WWE could pull out. They're just sticking with their guns, and they're going to go through with it. But they pulled references to Saudi Arabia off. Well, first they removed the show from the calendar. Then they put the show back on the calendar, but that only said Crown Jewel. It didn't say Saudi Arabia. It didn't say the stadium that they're going to, or that. And then they put it all back, and now they're just business as usual. And people were kind of watching Raw last night, going like, "Okay, are they going to put the graphics up on the screen? Are they going to keep promoting the World Cup matches? Are they?" And they did. They just kept doing it. And Shawn Michaels is coming out of retirement for this show. I mean, whew. I mean, this is a I can't imagine being in the corporate communications department of WWE right now. It has to be a nightmare.
Yeah, what's that thing? Shawn Michaels didn't die for this. Uh, it'll be interesting to watch their stock. I don't know if their stock has gone down or
um,
what. That'll be very interesting to watch.
I don't think it's actually tanked too much. I mean, it has gone down. I can see here on Google, it's at 84.29. So it was closer to like 95, 96, I think at one point. I'm sorry. The high was 97.69. So it has dropped more than $10.
There
So
you
you
go.
are seeing a reaction. Not at now. Still 84.29 is huge for them. I mean, that's the highest it's been in a long, long time. Um, but yeah, there's been reactions to it, unquestionably. So
No,
I
there
don't.
has been, and we've had, and by we I mean Canada. We've had our fair share of what's the word? Interactions with between us and Saudi Arabia a couple of months back, where
Yeah,
several Saudi Arabian citizens. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
yeah. I think Paul talked
Had to
about it.
leave
Yeah,
the country.
yeah.
I'm sorry, it was kind of
I think Paul brought it up on the podcast
uh,
that we did after
yeah.
Super Showdown.
They listen. I'm not saying they're right. I'm not saying they're wrong, but they do whatever the fuck they want. They're getting away with it. Good for them. Whatever. Again, I'm not. I'm not picking sides or anything. They do what they want. If the WWE wants to continue moving forward, then that's going to be their problem.
Yeah, it really is. I think
Um,
it's gonna be a big
whether
problem.
WWE, yeah, and whether WWE goes to Saudi Arabia or not, it's not going to change anything for them. For Saudi Arabia, they don't give a shit whether WWE comes or not. You want to come, great. We're paying you the money. You don't, fuck it. We'll probably sue you or whatever. Or whatever. They're not going to change. Like Saudi Arabia is not going to change based off of WWE going or not.
No, yeah, I think you're
That's the
right.
way I see it.
I think the problem is we live in a very reactionary slash outrage culture. But in this
Yeah.
case, I don't think the outrage is that ridiculous. Like I've seen people get outraged over a lot of silly stuff in the last couple of years, but I don't think it's that outrageous to say, hey, you guys may not want to be associated with a country who murdered a journalist. I mean, it was weird. They publicly denied it, and the prince publicly denied it to President Trump. And Trump put out a tweet today saying he talked to him and said he denied it. And then another report came out and said that they're preparing a report to basically say, well, it was an interrogation and it went horribly wrong. Um, it's a bad look when you if you're a publicly traded company, this is a bad look that you're taking money
It,
from a country that was associated with the murder of a journalist. Like there's no way to you can't just be like, well, that's
there's
just
no way
what
to
they do
justify it.
there. Like you can't, you got to pull out. You got to.
No, no, for sure. And
Yeah.
listen, if it was up, I mean, again, I'm not Vince or anything like that. If it was up to me, I probably wouldn't go either. Like,
Yeah.
you can't justify it. There's no way, no
Yeah.
amount of money in the world will justify it. But, and you mentioned it, publicly traded company, right? They won't let, whether, let's say they go, stocks go down. It's going to hurt them a little bit. A year from now, 2 years from now, all this public outcry, people are going to forget.
Maybe.
Unfortunately, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but people are going to forget. Are they going to do another show in Saudi Arabia? Who knows? They have that contract for
Mm.
a couple of more shows, I think.
It's like 10 years.
Are the Yeah, yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. People are going to forget. These things happen. Again, I'm not justifying it by any means. And if it was up to me, yeah, I wouldn't go either. Someone got killed, and it's the whole regime, and it sucks. Don't get me wrong. It definitely sucks.
Yeah. It's a bad look.
But what are you gonna do? You've been advertising. It's definitely a bad look, but you've been advertising it for a couple of weeks now, and like you said, you have Shawn Michaels coming out of retirement and everything.
I
Is it as
wonder,
simple as coming out with a simple apology by the WWE saying, okay, we apologize, we're not gonna go, and that's it? Then what do you do?
I think you just made a very good point there. That's the problem is that they went super hard with the show. They booked AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship. They announced a World Cup tournament, and then they decided to pull Shawn Michaels out of retirement. Um, how do you? Yeah, I mean,
What do you do? You book
yeah,
another pay-per-view instead?
I don't know.
What Survivor Series? You make Survivor Series 10 hours and you put it in there. What do you do?
the thing is, I feel like people would understand though. Like, I feel like people
For
would
sure.
understand, because the thing is, it's like, yes, Shawn Michaels is coming out of retirement. This is a big deal. But I feel like they would be like, all right, that's fine. We'll just do it at this other show. Like we'll do it at Survivor Series or something. Because there is that there, and I didn't think about this at the time, but when I did the podcast with Paul a few weeks ago, I had no idea how close in proximity the Evolution show was to this show. So this is not a very this is from a PR standpoint, you have an all women's
It's
pay-per-view on a Sunday, and then later that week on a Friday you're in Saudi Arabia where they no women can actually wrestle on the card. And I know they've been so John Oliver put a little bit of a spot. I don't know if you watched his segment, but he was basically saying that the WWE's last show, Greatest Royal Rumble, was like a giant propaganda tool for that progressive, and I use air quotes, progressive machine because it's, I understand that there's that Vision 2030. I understand women can now drive, which is hilarious to say out loud in 20. I can't even believe that we have to say, well, Roy, they are allowed to drive now. Like, so it's some progress. And I do get like what Triple H just said in media where he's like, you have to try to go to these places and change people's minds. And if you don't try, then nothing will change. And I do understand that point. I think it's a valid point too. But when someone's getting murdered, I'm sorry, at that point, you just cut your losses and say, you know what, we're out, not a good
You know
idea.
what? This might sound a bit, very, very insensitive on my end. Let's say, and God forbid this happens again. The journalist gets killed and everything. Had that journalist been American, you think
Well,
they would still go?
he was an American citizen.
Yeah, but no, but wasn't he? Wait,
He's a Saudi nationalist, but he was living in
yeah.
America and he was working for the Washington Post. So he was an American citizen.
Okay.
That's why
Yeah, no, no.
that's why
Yeah, fuck.
what's great is watching Roy's face go, "Oh no, this is why this is
That's
bad." It was funny because I was talking to
that makes
Paul. So I had this. I'm going to open up the. I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to piss off Paul too much. But
no. Go ahead. It's fine. I'll take the hit.
I was monitoring this. I'm using the quote that WWE did, but I didn't want to put anything on Wrestleview like right away because I saw this story and I was like, "Ooh, that's not good." And then I was talking to Paul and I'm like, "We got to say something." And Paul's like, "Really? Do you think we should?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think we got to. I think we got to cover this." And then the media backlash started about Thursday, and then it got out of hand Friday. I'm like, "Paul, we have to say something." So he's like, "Okay, let's go with it." Because I think Paul had the same kind of approach to it that you did, where he's like, well, I know what these regimes are like in Saudi Arabia and other Middle Eastern countries, and they do fucked up shit like this. So it's not like uncommon, but this was
Unfortunately, it's not out of the norm.
it's not another normal, and you're totally right. But yeah, this guy was a United States citizen, and he worked for the Washington Post, and he was tricked into going to the consulate in Turkey where he was apprehended by these guys who had wonderful explanations. If you read the doctrine of what they told the media, why they were only in Turkey for a certain amount of time, Roy, because they wanted to visit this place and this place. And they actually, John Oliver did a little segment about how this is very similar to what a lot of people in Russia would say when they would go somewhere and kill somebody and then come back and they would, we were just tourists and we wanted to see some destinations, and they would give these terrible excuses of why they were in a country, at 3 a.m. for a couple hours. But long story short, it's a bad look, and I really feel that I actually am a little surprised that they're sticking to their guns. I thought they were going to pull out. I really did, but they're not. They're going for it.
You know what? They're gonna go for it. And I'll ask you one last thing. A year from now, are people gonna remember this?
Probably not, because we live in that
There you go.
24/7 news cycle. So yeah, you're right. As of right
There you
now,
go.
this is a bad look, but you're right. It might blow
It's
over.
it's a bad look. WWE will cash in. They'll make the money. A year from now, people will forget about it unless they decide to go once more to Saudi Arabia. And like you said, they have a 10-year contract.
And they could break
That's
it.
going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, they could easily break this deal. There's no
Yeah.
reason why they have to stick with it by any means. But yeah, it's a little bad look. And tonight, people were being booed anytime they made any mention of Crown Jewel. So that was entertaining. The one thing I did not like tonight was Daniel Bryan shaking hands with AJ Styles and then shaking hands with one of the Usos. I hate, and I know that in like Ring of Honor they have the Code of Honor, and I know a lot of wrestling fans like to watch wrestling like it's a sport, but I get that in mixed martial arts if after you beat the shit out of somebody and you want to shake hands, but like in professional wrestling, like I just spent, and you were watching the same feud as me. Last couple of weeks, Samoa Joe was doing fucked up, heinous things to AJ Styles, and then now he's
That was
shaking
great.
hands with Daniel Bryan. It's like, ugh, like it's so gross. I hate that stuff. I hate it.
It's
So
I
dumb.
don't like it. No, no, I agree 1,000%. I don't like it. And the worst part about like I don't mind a face versus face feud if done correctly.
Yes, very
But if
much.
you're doing a face versus face feud and one of them is literally like, "Oh, we're gonna shake hands and we're gonna hug every chance we get," and this and that, no, like I'm sorry that doesn't work. Eventually, does AJ turn heel or something? I don't know. They better fucking do something because they can't keep having Daniel Bryan the way he is and AJ Styles staying a face for
Yeah,
until the paper.
I'm getting a little tired of Daniel's act too.
Tough.
Like I'm a huge Daniel Bryan fan, but even I'm just like, what are they doing? Like they got to figure something out because the it's starting to wear off a little bit. Like he's been back in the ring since April, so let's do something
They,
here.
how much more better would this have been with the Miz?
It would have been a lot better. But I mean, if you saw with what they did tonight, he won. He's going to be in the World Cup now, which I thought that was hilarious that he won that match in like 2 minutes. But I'm sure people were pissed
I
about it.
thought
But
I thought that was a fuck up to be honest with you, but
was it a fuck
with
up?
Aiden English. Yeah, with Aiden English coming in late.
Oh, he did come in a
I
little
don't know if you
late, but I
caught
mean
that.
that was definitely the
Yeah.
finish, though. I mean yeah, maybe it
No,
was
no,
a
no, it was the finish, but I mean they
yeah,
fucked up the finish.
yeah, no, maybe yeah, that's very true. But um, I have to ask you because I talked to Paul about this on the podcast a few weeks ago, about the way they've been treating the Becky Lynch Charlotte Flair thing. Because you've been watching this and covering this closely with SmackDown, and
Hmm.
there was a couple ways people were approaching it. They were saying that um they were treating Charlotte the way they've been treating Roman Reigns, where they were like forcing fans to cheer Roman Reigns even though they didn't want to. And you can see the reaction, like again tonight, like Edge is in the ring going like, I did the same shit you did, Becky. Like I stomped over, relationships and friendships and just so I could get ahead. But in the long run, it doesn't pay off. But when I saw Edge going like, I was like, oh no, don't do this. Don't do this. But it made sense kind of to do it with Edge's character because his character had a history of doing that. Getting with Lita, stealing Lita away from Matt Hardy and the fucked up shit he did with, Vicky Guerrero and getting married to her and all that stuff. But when they it's almost like they're still trying to make that Charlotte Flair babyface thing and just look at the organic reactions that Becky Lynch gets when she does something, like just the way she delivers lines and the crowd's like, I love everything they're doing with Becky Lynch, and I think Charlotte's a wonderful person to play off of, but
Yeah.
don't do this. We need you to cheer Charlotte and boo Becky Lynch thing because Becky's. You got to let this thing ride out. Like don't try to cookie cutter this into babyface versus heel. Like that's my only kind of qualm with it. I don't know if you're seeing it the same way, but it seems like they're still trying to make Charlotte Flair the good girl here and the one that makes sense when Becky's character makes way more sense and is way more likable, which is the funny part. She's more likable than Charlotte's character.
Oh, I love Becky. I like the development ever since she won the title. Even before then, like they were teasing the heel turn, right? Before the pay-per-view, before she won the title, they were teasing it, and you're like, okay, well, she's gonna turn heel, and people are gonna boo her and hate her. But I think because people like her so much that when they did do the quote unquote heel turn, it didn't work. It didn't work. People continued to cheer her on, and I think it has more to do with the fact that it's not so much people hate Charlotte. I think they just prefer Becky, and that I understand. That's fine. Whether they're trying to shove Charlotte down our throats as as a face or similar to Roman Reigns, honestly I don't see it that way. I really, really don't. The way I'm seeing it is, I'm seeing two faces, one of which they're trying to turn heel with Becky. Uh, but Charlotte's still getting some pops. Like they'll cut to the camera and you see, little girls or whatever cheering her on. I think it's just a matter of Becky, people getting behind Becky more than Charlotte, but not necessarily WWE pushing Charlotte down our throats. I don't really agree with that. I sort of get what you mean, but no. For me, it's just, how could I put this? Fuck, I'm losing. Sorry, I've been on conference calls for like 6 hours today. I'm losing my words. I'm losing my wording.
You're fine.
Um, but yeah, no, no.
The stuff with
Fuck.
no, I know what you're trying to say. I still feel like they're trying to force Charlotte a little bit, but The crowd has
Uh,
made their decision though. I mean, it's very clear, and it's not. That's not me saying like, oh, the W. See, because there was a lot of people that were attacking WWE for doing this, and I thought that was way off base. I just don't think that they realized the kind of reaction that Becky was going to get, and they're just kind of rolling with it, and that's
right.
good. I think that's
And
great.
no one could have imagined the reaction that Beck would have got. But at this point in the feud, how do you turn Becky heel or turn her back face? You can't.
You
They're
can't.
sort of stuck with you can't do anything.
Yeah, I love it though. That's my favorite feud going right now in that company.
It's oh, same here. It's I'm watching Raw, the 3 hours of Raw. I'm watching it in 30 minutes to 45 minutes. I can't sit through the 3 hours. SmackDown's great. I'm really liking the show lately, but I agree that's the best thing they have going on right now. Just because
It's
it
good.
feels organic, it
It
feels good,
does.
it feels natural, and it's not being forced.
It
It's
does.
there. It's something that's been building up. They have a history together, and it's the culmination. And now, ultimately, I'm guessing is going to be at the Evolution pay-per-view.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. We got. I know we kind of briefly hit on it a little bit, but we got Rey Mysterio back in action. I liked the TDE Wrestling has some good gifts, and they call this one safe with Mysterio sliding out and bumping right on top of Shinsuke. But dude, Ray's in incredible shape right now. I got to see him wrestle at the All In show a couple weeks ago in Chicago. Well, I guess it's more than a month ago now. God, that time flies. But I got to see
You
him
still sick?
wrestle. No, I'm not sick anymore. I got the con sickness. That was terrible. But yeah, he was incredibly impressive. Although they had to blast through that match because of time constraints. Literally had what the Young Bucks got on the mic and said they had 3 seconds before the show was going to go over when they closed it. But he looked incredible in person, and he's been actively wrestling. He had an injury kind of earlier this year. I think it was something with his arm, or I can't remember, a rotator cuff or shoulder, something.
Shoulder, I believe
I
it was
forget.
shoulder. Yeah.
But he's in incredible shape. Negative Paul last week didn't seem to care too much about Rey Mysterio coming back, but I'm pumped to see him back. They advertised some dates. I think there's a ton of upside. Obviously, it's not going to be the longest run, but this is probably his last run with the company. It would seem, but I thought he looked really good tonight, and I thought it was a really good move to have him come back on this show. I mean, the news got out that he had signed a new deal and that he was back, but I thought it was a good move to have him on here tonight. So I don't know. I know you kind of briefly talked about it earlier, but I'm all for Ray Ray, man. I'm a big fan.
No, I'm a fan. I haven't seen Rey Mysterio in years, to be honest with you. Like the All In show, I briefly watched it. I didn't watch all of it. And I haven't seen him. The last time I saw Mysterio wrestle was probably in a WWE ring.
Which
That's
was
how far back it goes.
how far back did he? When was
Uh,
his last? Actually, let's just Google it. Let's use our good friends at Online World of Wrestling because I'm a fan.
yes.
Let's go back and
What if
check. Um, they have him tagged. I want to say his last run was like 2011. I'm sorry. Wow, I'm way off. 2014. He was still wrestling.
whoa,
He
okay.
um he was active at WrestleMania 30. He was in the 30 man Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal.
That
He
doesn't really count though, does it?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, he was still wrestling. He had a match with Wade Barrett the next night on Raw, and then he was off. Oh, I remember what happened. He got hurt, and then he decided to bail, and they held him to his contract, and then eventually they let him free in February of 2015. Um, and then at that point, he went to Mexico. He did AAA stuff. I remember that stuff. He did
Mhm.
some stuff with Alberto Del Rio. And then he just
Yeah.
did indies for a couple years. He did Lucha Underground. I forgot about that. But he was still active. He never took time off, but he was still active. And yeah, so for a couple years there. So it was 2015. Wow, I totally butchered that one. But um,
Yeah, I thought it was longer, to be honest with
I
you.
did too. But yeah, so it's been a while. But yeah, I thought
I'm
he looks good.
I'm excited to yeah, no, I'm excited to see him back. He looked good in the ring, looked in fantastic shape. Uh, looked great. Question is, moving forward, see, this is my problem, and this is allow me to be a Debbie
No,
Downer.
that's fine. Go.
Um, I didn't mind seeing Batista back. I love Orton. Jeff Hardy's been great lately. Now you have Mysterio back. But essentially, I just named you four guys, three of which are, I guess, regularly on the roster now: Mysterio, Orton, and Jeff. But ultimately, you're building towards what? These guys can't go much longer. You have to, and it's a 2 hour show. It's not like Raw where you could have these guys on Raw and fill up the 3 hours. It's a 2 hour show. You have a great tag team division. You have a pretty good women's division. You have a solid, pretty good main event title scene. Like you could do something, and here you are sticking to guys that were in the company 10, 15 years ago. And that's the problem I'm having. I love seeing Ray. I have no problem with his matches. He's very entertaining. I love watching him. But ultimately, this is hurting the product in the long run. And that's my problem with all of this. But putting that aside, great. Fuck it. I'm recapping SmackDown. I'm watching him every week. Fantastic. I could watch him. I can't wait to watch him against AJ Styles. I'm sure him and Samoa Joe would be great. Him and Jeff ultimately maybe something. Who knows? Him, Daniel Bryan.
Well,
The great match, like the matches that we could get out of Rey Mysterio.
yes.
Wow.
I think you just answered your own question though. You were just making the point of like, okay, I get that, he's back, he's in good shape, but he's a star from the past. But then think about all the talents we haven't seen him wrestle against. So it's same thing with Daniel Bryan being back now. There's a whole list of guys you could stick him in the ring with now. That either he wrestled a long time ago or he had,
But
has never wrestled with. So I think that there, if you put Ray in the ring with like a Shinsuke, that's unique. That's unique as hell. Haven't seen that match before. I think the uniqueness factor is the selling point of bringing back talent like a Rey Mysterio to the roster.
sure, but do that on a 3 hour show. Do it on Raw, where they
Well,
desperately need to fill up time instead
that's
of
very
us
good point.
getting
Yeah.
Bobby Lashley 10 times or Apollo Crews, who knows how many times.
Like Bobby
Put him on
Lashley.
Raw, have good matches.
Bobby Lashley's been getting better with Leo Rush. He's just Leo Rush cuts little promos and he's a little critter and he
Yeah,
goes out there and he cuts promos.
we,
They're figuring that one out. That one, yeah, I agree with you. It stunk at first, but they're figuring it
yeah.
out.
Same thing with Apollo Crews. I think well,
Yeah,
he was pretty good on Raw, but
yeah,
you get what I mean. Like
yeah.
put
Where's he
him
going?
on Raw, do the time filler there. We could get unique matches. Fine. Use SmackDown because it's a 2 hour show, and because you have some young guys on there, push them, do something. What happened to what's his name? The fuck, the guy they got from NXT, the Ty Dillinger.
Yeah, yeah.
The fuck is he?
Not doing
The
much.
Usos haven't been on SmackDown in weeks up until tonight.
Yeah. What's going on?
Nakamura. That's my problem. Don't again. Once more, I'm a big fan of Ray. I love Orton. I love Jeff Hardy, and they're still putting in pretty good performances, great matches. But ultimately, I could do without it on SmackDown. Put them on Raw where they need to fill the time, and SmackDown help develop the younger stars.
No, I think that's a valid point. I think maybe Raw would be a better fit for him, but they're not doing it, Roy. They're sticking him on
No,
SmackDown, so we
I'm
gotta.
I'm happy. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy.
Yeah,
I get to watch Ray every
that's
week. I'm
very
a
true.
fan.
That's very true.
It's just, you know,
Is what it is.
it sucks in the long run.
All right, so I would say, and I'll go back and let's see if we can get the latest poll here. I think for the most part, though, most people were feeling the show tonight. There's our, I forgot we tweeted out the photo of us, thumbs up. 75% still is thumbs up, so pretty solid feedback so far on the Twitter. So, wow, this one's blowing up. I pulled a Roy. Oh, look at that, Roy! It blew up. The when your friend gets burned in front of you, and you were like, and you see, yeah. So, look at that. It's got some
I'm
traction.
looking at that.
I almost
Yeah, I'm
I
trying
almost
to.
clicked the analytics. You would have punched me in the face if I opened the real time analytics that no one's supposed to see but us. But
It's fine. It's
that's
fine.
fine.
I'm
It's
just
fine.
trying to scrolling down
Yeah.
on Twitter now just to find the.
It was so
Here
yeah.
we go. 31.94.
Yeah.
Nice.
We
There
got
you
some
go.
good
Doing pretty well.
impressions. Got some good stuff tonight. So good
It was a good show, and it
it
got a
was.
lot of tweets.
It did.
Not just I'm not just talking about our account, but just in general, Twitter. A lot of people were very active,
There was more
more than a regular
interest.
Tuesday.
Yeah, because I think you've expressed that to me sometimes too, where there's a lot of interactivity, which is surprising to me because I do not watch Raw live. But Mike's, usually gives me an idea of like how's interaction. He said it's always very good on Monday nights, but Tuesday it's kind of depending on the show, like depending on what's going on. But clearly tonight there was more people tuning in and wanting to check it out. So what?
Like on my personal account, not the Wrestleview account, just personal, where I don't really follow anything wrestling. There was a friend of mine, and he tweeted out, he's like, "Holy crap! I just put on SmackDown. I heard it's the 1,000th show, and I'm
Yeah.
seeing Batista. Like, wow, this is pretty cool."
Yeah. So maybe it's gonna pop a nice little rating for him and get some attention, but it didn't obviously they I don't know if you saw the Eddie Guerrero mini documentary they put out on YouTube. That was really good.
No, I didn't
That's
know.
worth watching. It's like maybe 15 minutes long, but it's really good. But it is only, I mean, it's 1,000 episodes, so they're not going to go to the extent of how they did the 25th anniversary of Raw earlier this year. So it had a little bit of different vibe, but I thought overall, I thought they did a good job. I thought it was they showed enough stuff in the past, and they brought some past characters back to the show. Thought it was a good blend. So I thought they did a good job tonight. I thought it was really good show.
It was, yeah, no, no, it was solid. It was fun, much better than that disaster that was the Raw 25th anniversary.
I didn't totally hate the 25th anniversary. I know people that bought
Oh,
tickets to the Manhattan Center didn't like that show
yeah.
too much, but yeah, I didn't totally
And
hate it.
I was, at one point I was surprised but not surprised, because we actually got a title change, because nothing ever happens on these shows.
That is true. We did get a title change tonight. Yeah, new SmackDown
And I
Tag
was
Team Champions. So there you
Yeah.
go.
And when I saw the match, I'm like, okay, fine. It's just they're having the title match just for the sake of having a title match.
Yeah,
And then as it was going on, I'm like, no, you know what? I think the bar wins this, and ultimately they did.
it's pretty
So
crazy.
that was pretty cool.
I
That was
was I
very
was
very
very
cool to do something.
surprised they decided to go ahead and do that. I was very
Yeah.
surprised.
But you know what? I bet you New Day won the title back when the title's back
Probably. And the
in
next,
Saudi Arabia.
I don't think they have anything booked for those guys at Crown Jewel, do they? As far as I
They
know.
could the rematch.
They might book a rematch. You're right. That's a good point. They might do that. Speaking of upcoming shows, in 2 weeks it is the All Women's Evolution pay per view. Are you going to check this one out, or what's your take on this? Are you going to be sexist,
Oh,
Roy, and say I'm not watching a? I just wanted to set you up to.
no, I know. If I have nothing better planned, I'll watch it. I'll probably watch it just because of its curiosity, right? Just
Yeah.
to see how it goes, what gives. Um, there's actually two things. First thing is I'm surprised in a way they're not hyping this up more than they are, just because I thought it'd be shoved down our throats. And the second thing is I wonder how often they're going to do this. Is this a one-off show? Is it something they're going to do every couple of months? Is it once a year? Who knows? I guess it depends on the success or failure of this one.
I wonder if they're going to try once a year because they did. It feels like now going forward with the Rumble, we're going to get a women's Royal Rumble and a men's Royal Rumble now. Like that's just going to be part of the standard now,
Which
um,
was
which was hilarious because Doug and I think the day before they made that announcement, we're like, oh, they'll never do a women's Royal Rumble. They don't have enough talent on the roster. And honestly, we weren't totally wrong. I mean, they brought back a lot of former talent,
but
but
But you know what? It was actually better than the men's Royal Rumble.
it was really good. They executed it incredibly well. I was blown away, and then the Ronda thing just took it to another level. But yeah, it feels like we're gonna get that every year, and then I don't know if they're gonna do a women's battle royal every year at WrestleMania, but they'll probably do something because they want to get as many women on that card as possible. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's an interesting question. Are they gonna do one of these pay per views a year? Are they is if it? I mean, I guess how do you gauge success with the network? Because do you gauge it on the ticket sales for the show? Do you gauge it on how many people? Because we don't know the downloads that it's going to get. Um, but yeah, maybe if they don't see a good return on this, then you're right. Maybe they just don't do it again.
It's possible. It's not sold out, I don't think.
I don't think it's sold out, but I think it's close to being sold out, though.
It's close to being sold
Yeah,
out. Okay, that's good at least.
yeah. So
I don't know. That is a good question. How do you measure success? I don't know. I feel like they'll probably give it another shot. Uh, I think it'll be more than once a year, probably a twice a year thing, maybe once right after WrestleMania or something. Uh, but I'm very, very interested in seeing what happens and what gives. And more specifically, and I hope to God, because wrestling fans can be fucking obnoxious, I hope the fans are not annoying.
oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
That's gonna like that could no matter how good the actual in-ring matches are, the moves and all that stuff, if the fans suck, it just takes so much away from it all.
Yeah, I did not think about that. I'm not looking forward to Ronda Nikki, even though I thought the promo was good last
Oh,
night. I think that's gonna not.
no.
I think that match is gonna suck. I'm gonna go in with really low expectations, so then maybe it turns out good, and I'll be surprised. But I think you main event that show with Becky and Charlotte. I can't
You have
imagine not. But I think they're going to close it with Ronda and Nikki because of Ronda's stature. But you got to close it with Becky and Charlotte. That's the most interesting thing right now.
You
And,
have to.
and then there's the tag match. Do you like that they decided to do Trish and Lita tagging against Alexa and Mickey versus the singles plan that they had before? Because I think that might work better.
I mean, it's cool. Yeah, it gets them both involved, and or by both I mean Trish and Lita. It gets them both involved. I feel bad for Mickey, because I feel like ever since she lost the title, she's just kind of been floating, in
Yeah,
nowhere.
she's I mean, I think she's there for a reason because she's got well, first of all, she's incredibly talented. She's got a lot of
Yeah,
experience and she can pass this along to some of the girls that are just kind of trying to figure it out. So, I think she's got that value, but yeah, it's a little different.
yeah.
I totally forgot that they're going to do Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler too for the NXT women because they're going to also defend the NXT UK women's
Oh,
title.
yeah.
Who has a champion
Is it
now, but it hasn't aired yet.
the Mae Young Classic, right?
The finals of the Mae Young Classic, and then
Yeah,
there.
that's gonna be on
Did
there.
you see? So last night they confirmed a. They're calling it a historic women's battle royal, even though we had one at WrestleMania. But did you
I know
see
where you're going
all the Raw talent and the SmackDown talent just shit all over this battle royal? Like
on,
they're just like,
on
oh,
Twitter.
cool, yeah. They shit all
Yeah,
over it. Yeah, it was
it's
bad.
the pay-per-view. Logically speaking, well, logically, I mean, pay-per-view is gonna be 3 hours. No, they're not doing this 4 hours.
I don't think so. Well, I could
You
actually, you know
could,
what? Let me see if I can find out.
if it's 3 hours, you have more than enough talent to actually have, whether it's singles matches or tag team matches or something. Like you don't need a battle royal. If you're gonna do a battle royal, maybe do one for, you know, some of the older women that were there. But there's no need to stick like a Peyton Royce or whoever it is, Peyton Royce or Billy Kay or Oscar, whoever in that battle royal. You have enough talent in there to do something. They easily could have done like a tag team tournament or something and have women's tag team titles.
Well, I
I
know
don't know
that's
if that's
been
something they can end up doing.
it's been flirted with, and I know I want to say Stephanie or Triple H were asked about it, and they were like, "Well, I don't think we're quite there yet," but because now they just introduced an NXT UK Women's Championship because there's the new NXT UK brand which debuts tomorrow on the network. They've been taping television for the last couple of months for that. So they got that belt now. They have the NXT Women's Championship. They have the SmackDown Women's Championship. They have the Raw Women's Championship. Then they got the Mae Young Classic thing. So yeah, maybe it would be overkill to do women's tag team titles, but do you do tag team titles for the Raw brand and for the Smack? I mean, I think at some point they're going to have to do that, but I don't know if now is the best
Ev-
time. But
Eventually, my
eventually,
my well, another question actually now that we're talking about this is because it's a women only pay-per-view, how long are the matches going to go? Because
I don't know. And I looked at the schedule, and they do not have the schedule available for the 28th of October yet. But
yeah,
I would guess at least it's going to be a 3 hour show, at least a 3 hour show.
I'm fine, but how long did the actual matches go though? Because
No different
if
than
you look at it, generally speaking, the women's matches, be it Raw or SmackDown, except the title matches, don't go more than 5 to 7 minutes.
they don't, but we live in a new world where they're getting more TV time and longer. But you're right though. But I think,
And
but now that this is an all women's show, it's going to be treated just like any other show, and it's going to be formatted. Obviously, some matches are going to be shorter than others, but it's going to be formatted the same way you would watch a WWE pay per view. But it just happens to be all women, so it's going to be different.
no, 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 and I get that. No, no, and I like that. Don't get me wrong. All I mean is, I don't know. Maybe it'll be weird, or maybe I don't know if the talent is because I'm probably very, very ignorant. But is the talent even ready to go 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah, I think the bigger matches, I think that's not a problem, but you're right though. But I think that's been changing over the last couple of years, especially on Raw with how much time they have now.
Yeah.
The matches get longer, but it's I kind of liked what your question was. Are they gonna? What I'm worried about is they're gonna feel obligated to do this every year because of this announcement.
Yeah.
And maybe this show stinks. I don't know, but there's a possibility. Maybe it doesn't turn out the way they want it to turn out, but we've already seen them experiment with having Charlotte and Sasha Banks main event a pay per view. We've seen the Royal Rumble main event a show with all women. So it tends to work
And
out. It just does. So
it does. And
So,
now ultimately, now we're also getting the Iron Women match, and that's why
yeah,
I think that one's going to close the show.
yeah. I hope you mean the last woman standing match with Charlotte and Becky?
Sorry, last woman standing.
Yeah,
Sorry, yeah, I
yeah.
don't know why I said Iron Woman match. Last woman standing.
I hope that closes. I really do, but I have a feeling because of Ronda's mainstream appeal, they're gonna. I think that match is gonna stink. I think that one's gonna be rough, but we'll see.
Uh,
I don't know. The promo exchange was great. I can't hate on that, but oh boy, Mike Tedesco thinks that the match is gonna be good. So we are on two totally different spectrums of expectations when it comes to that.
I don't think. I think. Don't get me wrong. I think Ronda's improving match by
Yeah,
match,
but not
but
with Nikki.
not to the point where she could be carried. I'm not
Yeah,
saying she needs to be carried, but I don't think,
she does.
if need be, I don't think Nikki could carry her in a
She
match.
needs some. That's my problem
She
with
needs
it.
direction.
That is my number one problem. Is
Yeah.
I think Nikki has a ton of experience. I think Nikki has tremendously improved in the ring, but I'm going in with very very low expectations, and I'm willing to be pleasantly surprised. And I'll be the first person to come on here and say I was totally wrong. But right now, I just don't think it's going to be very good. But we'll see. We'll find out.
It's
The whole show's an experiment. So,
yeah.
although
One quick question and a bit
yeah,
of a side note. Have we actually gotten a pay-per-view this month? Like aside from the Australia one, or was Hell in a Cell in October, or was it not in September?
September.
So we haven't gotten an actual
Well,
pay-per-view.
there was the showdown, the Super Showdown, but
Right.
that was on the 5th. But that was, I mean, it was a pay per view. I mean, it was on a Saturday morning, but it was a show.
But then I feel like it wasn't built like a. I mean, yes, it was built like a pay-per-view, but it didn't have the. I don't know. It's.
Yeah, no, this will be
I
the
don't know. I don't know
only.
if you're getting what I mean. But it's just maybe because
Well,
there's a time difference, and
this
we're
technically
accustomed
was
to watching it that night.
yeah. Evolution was technically booked to be the only pay per view in October, but it just so happened that the showdown took place on the 5th. So yeah, it's the only pay per view in October, essentially.
So next one is Survivor Series.
Yep, you get the Takeover and Survivor Series weekend after the debacle in Saudi Arabia the same week of Evolution. So,
It's gonna be great.
which Paul and Mike will be covering for us because it takes place on a Friday afternoon, and I will not be available. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
it's a 7 or 8 hour time difference for us. Yeah.
Yep, I think it starts at noon Eastern, 11 Central. That Friday on the 2nd, from what I saw, but maybe I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure that's what they're actually. Let's just why don't we just check while we're on the
On the
Googles? Yeah,
interwebs,
let's go to the
on the
shows.
Googles.
Check it. You have to scroll all the way down, by the way, to find that the show's taking place. They're kind of hiding it a little bit.
I'm just gonna
Um,
check YouTube real quick.
I think YouTube is back up. Actually,
Is it?
I think I saw it went back up.
Yeah, it's back up. Yeah, it's back up.
That's good. Yeah, noon Eastern. So noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central is when Crown Jewel takes place.
And
So
that's last time that was a 5 hour pay-per-view.
yeah, Paul said it went super long. The show we just covered in Australia was 4 hours, but it didn't feel like it. It went by quick. So yeah, that could be a rough one. I just
It's
like
gonna
that
be
Paul has
difficult.
to be up at a decent
Watch
time
it.
and watch Shawn Michaels come out every time. 'Cause Paul is not a Shawn Michaels fan whatsoever, if you know Paul
Oh my
well. So
God. He'll
it's
be wearing his Bret Hart shades.
yeah, he was so mad. He's like, "Did you make me wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to watch Triple H versus The Undertaker?" He's like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I didn't book it. I'm just here to talk about it and react to it." But yeah, he was.
Wait until he has to watch a main event consisting of Shawn Michaels and Triple H.
Oh,
Once.
it's gonna be so beautiful when that DX music hits. He's gonna get those flashbacks to the DX
Oh,
and Heart Foundation days, and yeah, he's not gonna be a fan. It's gonna be great.
no, it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Some of the perks that we get to enjoy here on Wrestleview is the Paul being upset at certain things. So
Yeah.
all right, well, YouTube is back up, so we'll get this. Well, if you're watching this now, it's already uploaded, so I shouldn't say that as if they're listening to us live right now, because it's just that was a silly statement on my part. But
Sorry.
last time I think we talked, we were making some changes to the podcast, but now we're on Spotify, so that's been I know I use Spotify, I know you do too, so that's been a big help, and we've seen quite a boost in people downloading the podcast version, the audio versions of our shows too. But of course, we're on here on the YouTubes as well. So many ways to listen now. But before it was
And
just the RSS feed. So now we got more.
yeah, And hopefully more platforms in the near future.
Yeah, I got to figure out the Stitcher thing because someone messaged me and said they couldn't find us on Stitcher, so I got to figure that out. But I know we're definitely on Spotify now. We're still on iTunes. You can always download the MP3. We have the streaming player with Libsyn now on Wrestleview. But yeah, it's more broad than it was when it was just on SoundCloud. So, and you can still get us on SoundCloud too, but we just changed RSS feeds, so it's a little different. But boom. Well, Roy, thank you for taking the time. I know it would have been more fun to have been live on YouTube and had live chats and interactions, but we did not know that YouTube was going to blow up on us. But it is back up, so that's good. So
All good. No, thank you
all
for
right.
having me. It would have been fun to have Paul call in, actually.
I know. I think he wanted to be a part of it, but he was like, he did that like, oh, so you're doing the show with Roy? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing the show with Roy. And he goes, oh, okay. I think you wanted me. I think you wanted me
He
to.
was waiting for that. Do you want to come
Yeah,
on?
hey, you want to join? But I think it's nice to kind of mix it up and have some different voices and on our shows because it's just nice to mix it up here once in a while. But we will be back on the 28th with Doug Lackey to talk about Evolution, so that'll be interesting because Mike Tedesco is actually going to be in attending the show in person with Victoria, with his wife Victoria. So they'll have a live perspective on their post Raw show the next day, but. We'll see how it goes, man. I don't know. There's the angry wrestling dorks were out in droves when they first announced the show because there's been all women's promotions on the indie scene. TNA did all women's pay-per-views, almost a decade ago, but so it's not a new concept, but it's a new concept for WWE to do this. So, and it's more mainstream, so more people are going to watch it and pay attention to it.
And you know what? Good for them. Just one thing before we close out, and I hope to God I'm wrong. I think the pay-per-view itself will be pretty good. I just think the fans are going to be fucking obnoxious and really, really annoying.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope it
I
doesn't.
hope not, but I feel like they are.
Hope it doesn't go that way. But you're right. It could be a genuine possibility. Unfortunately, with the wrestling fans that always have to share their opinions. It's not fun.
Ugh.
All right,
Well,
everybody.
I don't know.
We are going to get the hell out of here. We will be back on the 28th of October, which is in 2 weeks, I think. Yeah, 2 weeks. We'll have Evolution.
Good.
Around there. It's about 2 weeks. Yeah, a little less than 2 weeks, actually, when I'm looking at the calendar. But we'll be back then and joined by Doug Lackey. And hopefully YouTube won't blow up again. We'll be live on YouTube. And yeah, it'll be a good time. So again, Roy is the weekly recapper of Smackdown for us on Wrestleview. You can follow Roy on the Twitter at Roy Nemmer. He is a very important bigwig in the soccer world, runs his own website about soccer. So if you're interested in soccer, Roy is a good person to tweet to and chat about. And but yeah, he's been killing it for us on Twitter and covering SmackDown for us. And we'll definitely have you on more podcasts because I know the last time we did a bunch of these was kind of WrestleMania weekend, but we should maybe like Survivor Series weekend. We can pack in the make a big old Wrestleview panel. I think that'd be a good time. Make that happen. So.
Oh yes, get the Nemmer brothers on there together.
Yeah, that's fun. I love doing that. It's always a good time. We'll make it happen. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Of course, you can find the audio version of this show on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, all other RSS feeds. Just search Wrestleview or Wrestleview Media, and we'll pop up, and you can subscribe. And of course, thumbs up or thumbs down, depending on if you don't like looking at our faces on YouTube. And definitely subscribe, though. At the very least, if you could hit that subscribe button, we would appreciate it. Because those numbers have been climbing up and we're trying to get to a magic number. If you know anything about YouTube, we're trying to get to a magic number. It happens to be the same number that SmackDown celebrated this evening. So we're trying to get there. And we've made some progress, but we need your help. So if you do check out our content on YouTube, we appreciate the likes or the dislikes. And we especially appreciate if you hit the subscribe button because we have lots of content getting pumped out with shows like this. After pay-per-views, we have Mike and Victoria reacting to Raw. We have clips from Doug's Twitch show, Wrestleview Weekly, and other stuff too, interviews and things like that. So we've been trying to bump up that content and make it happen. So appreciate your support. All right, I'm gonna stop talking. We're gonna get out of here. We will talk to you on the 28th for Evolution. Follow Roy on the Twitter at Roy Nemmer. I am at Adam Wrestleview on the Twitter. All right, everybody. Bye.